Hey everyone, welcome. Let's jump right in with a thought experiment. What if our schools put just as much energy into building a student's character as they do into prepping them for a career? Today, we're going to dig into a really fascinating blueprint for exactly that, a type of education that puts values right at the heart of everything.
So let's kick things off with a pretty big question, right? What are our schools really for? Are they there to help shape well-rounded, ethical people? Or are they just assembly lines for the economy? This is the exact tension that the source material we're looking at today really dives into.
And wow, this quote really nails it, doesn't it? The argument from the article is pretty simple but powerful. Knowledge without a moral compass? Well, it's basically useless. I mean, think about it. You could be the most skilled person on the planet, but if you don't have a solid framework of values, how are you going to use those skills in a way that actually helps people? That's the huge problem we're unpacking here. And that leads us right into what the article calls a character crisis. We're going to take a closer look at the big challenges that our modern schools are up against.
Okay, so this really lays out the dilemma we're facing. The source makes a pretty bold claim that the decline we're seeing in moral values is tied directly to an education system that's laser-focused on, well, just materialistic stuff. The article has this great phrase for it: producing bread and butter. When you prioritize just memorizing facts over actually thinking critically about what's right and wrong, you end up with this massive gap. You're just skipping over the very things that build a person's character.
But it's not all doom and gloom, not at all. The article actually proposes a really powerful solution, a totally transformative way of looking at teaching and learning. So let's get into it. So the solution here is this idea called value-based education, or VBE for short. Now, this isn't just about adding a new class to the schedule. No, it's a fundamental shift in the whole school's vibe. The idea is to create a space where students, and staff too, can really explore their own values, build a language for talking about ethics, and just grow into more thoughtful, responsible human beings. And this is where it gets really, really interesting. The source doesn't just talk about why we should do this, it gives us a concrete how. It lays out this amazing, comprehensive framework for actually bringing VBE to life in a school. At the very heart of this framework, you've got 6 pillars. I want you to think of them as the big, foundational supports for building up a person's character. Each one tackles a different part of a student's life, but they all connect, and together, they create this really holistic structure for personal growth. So, pillar number 1, moral values. This is the bedrock, right? It's about teaching the fundamentals like honesty, respect, empathy, but it goes deeper. It's about building that critical thinking muscle so students can actually navigate tricky situations, whether it's a small choice on the playground or thinking about huge issues like environmental care. Next up, pillar 2 is social values. This is where we zoom out from just the individual and look at the community. This is all about how we get along with other people, learning essential skills like teamwork, cooperation, and good communication. And these aren't just soft skills. They are the absolute glue that holds a healthy society together. Okay, pillar 3 is all about cultural values. This is about helping students develop a strong sense of identity and belonging. The goal here is to build pride in your own heritage while at the same time fostering a deep respect for all the other rich cultures out there. It's a way to promote both unity and open-mindedness. Then we have pillar 4, spiritual values, which is all about looking inward. Now, let's be clear, this isn't necessarily about religion. It's more about introspection. It's about developing self-awareness and mindfulness and asking those big life questions about your purpose, a purpose that goes way beyond just making money. It's about learning to trust your inner compass.
Now, this next pillar is super interesting: law compliance values. This one draws a direct line between your personal ethics and your responsibility as a citizen. It's about understanding why we have laws in the first place, respecting rules, and recognizing that you have a role to play in keeping society just and safe for everyone.
And finally, pillar 6, one that is so crucial for our times: technology values. In a world where we're all glued to screens, this is absolutely critical. It's all about teaching digital citizenship, how to be a good person online, from respecting people's privacy to knowing how to stand up against things like cyberbullying. It's about being a responsible digital human. Okay, so we've got these 6 amazing pillars, but the big question is, how does a school actually do this? How do they put it all into practice? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Wow, the source gives us a super clear 7-step plan. It all starts with figuring out what the school and its students actually need. Then you form a dedicated committee. The real work happens through things like regular assemblies, inviting guest speakers, and having students work on projects together. And what's really important is that there's a feedback loop built in, with the committee checking in and progress being included in the school's official report. It makes the whole thing feel really doable.
But how do you know if it's actually working? I mean, it's not like you can give a kid an A+ in empathy, right? As you can see here, success is measured in a bunch of different ways. It's about looking for real changes using tools like surveys, watching how kids interact in the classroom, and even tracking their development over the long haul.
Which brings us to our final section. What's the ultimate payoff? What actually happens when a school decides to go all in on this philosophy? Well, the evidence laid out in the article suggests the impact is huge. And what's really fascinating is that focusing on values doesn't take away from academics. In fact, it seems to lead to better academic results. It makes sense, right? When you have more responsible classrooms and students with better social skills, the whole learning environment just gets better for everyone.
Now, of course, this isn't some magic wand you can just wave. The article is very realistic about the hurdles. Finding teachers who are trained for this is a big one, and creating a curriculum that works for a ton of different cultures, finding the time in an already jam-packed school day. These are serious, real-world challenges. But the potential rewards are just massive, and they go way beyond the school walls. We're talking about raising up future leaders who make ethical choices, helping kids develop self-control and emotional intelligence. Ultimately, this approach isn't just about building better students, it's about building better people, which in turn makes the whole community stronger.
And that really leaves us with this final, powerful question to chew on. The source material makes a really compelling case that the road to a more ethical, functional society might just run right through our school hallways. If we really want a better world tomorrow, maybe the most important thing we can do is totally rethink how and what we teach today. Thanks for tuning in.